Now, my family was one of the first black families to move on the north side of Jackson. And when we moved in, all of our neighbors were white. And when we got to high school, all of our neighbors were black. But as kids, we didn't know what was going on, because you know how young people are. Everybody's everybody. We thought Filipinos was light-skinned black people. We thought rich white people in Broadmoor was just like everybody else. My best friend in grade school was Alfred Nattori, a Japanese. My best friend in junior high school was Bill Catra from Broadmoor. And he was a progressive professor at Washington State, but he wrote a book about the CIA and racism in South America. He didn't last long, so he went to South America and married a South American lady, and then he married another South American lady. You know, and then we're living parallel lives because I'm doing the black thing and he's doing the Mexican Hispanic thing. And then when he started remodeling houses and I started remodeling houses. He's been married 3 times and I've been married 3 times. He's in Wisconsin now, and he's still doing his progressive politics. Now I'm glad to see all of you here because guess you're the future. My generation has failed me. This so-called integration generation that was a disintegration generation. Because everything that we had built, the Black Wall Street, the bank, the black community, Africa Town, is gone. And we're putting it back together with Africa Town. Who knows what Chinatown is? Do you know the U.S. government hates the Chinese more than they hate black folks? But the Chinese have Chinatown. You know why? Because they know they're not white. They don't want to be white. They want to be Chinese. Now what is our problem as African people? We don't know who we are. When I was teaching school, I was the first black history teacher in the Seattle Public Schools when I got kicked out of the U.S. Army for not going back to Vietnam. I was in Vietnam for 30 days on a ship. I was a merchant seaman. And half of the cargo had already been sold to the Viet Cong. War is a money-making racket that gets young people's minds twisted and torn up. Do you know more American soldiers have committed suicide? 52,000 American soldiers died in Vietnam. And over 100,000 American soldiers have committed suicide. Because they work you when you're young and you don't know what you're doing, killing old men, babies, and children. And then when you come back, you can't live with yourself. But guess what? None of the Kennedys, none of the Rockefellers, none of the DuPonts go to war. They send the young people to war and the poor people to war. Now this Black Lives Matter is very important. You know why? Because the NAACP, the Urban League, Obama, all these Negro politicians are, get what? They're white colonial settler nationalists. Who knows what colonialism is? I love your ass. Do you know the U.S. government says they're not going to recognize the Duwamish Native American tribe on whose land we're standing on right today? The city of Seattle is named after their chief. The Duwamish River is still in existence. How can the tribe not be in existence? Say that. How can you come and kill and decimate a people? Recognize and then the ones that are left, you say they don't exist. Now guess what they're saying? They're saying African Town, the black community in Seattle, no longer exists. Why? Because they say it don't exist. Because they don't want to pay black folks for working for 400 years, for laying the economic foundation of the U.S. Do you know the stock market? Who was the original people on the stock market? Slaves. Black folks. Okay. And there's no such thing as slavery. It's called terrorism. You terrorize babies and children. do they murder black people, poor people? When's the last time they murdered a rich banker? That's not an accident. They don't go downtown and shoot rich white people in suits and ties. They didn't shoot not one bankster.
They need to.
They didn't lock up not one bankster. And they collapsed the whole U.S. economy. Now, rather than play black folks for working for 400 years, they printed up $1 trillion or more in this fake fiat money. Who knows what fiat money is? It's useless Federal Reserve paper created out of thin air. Now, when you need money, you have to go to the factory or the street and hustle. When they need money, they go to the printing press and print it up. Now, how are you and black folks going to compete with a gambler when he runs out of money, he goes to the printing press? When you run out of money, you got to go to the factory or to the street and hustle. It's impossible. So when they want black people out of Seattle, what do? They raise the taxes. They raise the price on the house. Why? Because the Federal Reserve that prints up the money gives the money to who? The banksters. And who do the banksters give the money to?
White folks.
Their buddies. Why do you think all this construction that you saw up on 23rd and Union next to the dope house? Do you know on one side of the street, Ian Eisenberg is bragging about he makes $800,000 a month selling dope? A Schedule I drug on the Federal Register, along with cocaine and heroin. But because rich white Microsoft money, i.e. Ian Eisenberg, we don't even know how he got the start because he didn't win the lottery. Now, why don't they sell the weed through the liquor stores? Weed is less dangerous than liquor. You never hear people getting on weed and then going out and killing everybody and killing their family. Weed makes you very bad. And then guess what? It makes you get the munchies, makes you hungry. So why don't they sell the weed through the liquor stores? Because the poor people and African people and ordinary people own liquor stores.
I don't know. I get kind of crazy when
Now, what do we do about it? Do we just sit around and whine and cry and complain and say, oh, you can't beat City Hall? No, you do like you do. You get in the streets. You create chaos. You make it ungovernable. Now, why aren't the police here beating up people and doing their usual thing? Do you know when I was 13 at Meany Junior High School in 1957, the police murdered one of our 13-year-old schoolmates? That's when I first became aware that the police were not like the fire department. Now, my dad was the first black electrical engineer in the whole northwest part of the United States. Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana. He was head of Fish and Wildlife in 1957, 58. When they had the riots in 68, which I had a chance to be a part of, they moved him from his fishing and wildlife job to the post office. And his job was to get black contractors jobs working on construction on post office. That post office that you passed on 23rd Union was the first post office that he did. Now, sorry to say, my dad was kind of like Clarence Thomas. He didn't know who he was. When I went to Africa in 74, I had to get out of the U.S. I'd already been to Japan. I'd already been to Vietnam. My brother been living in Paris. I've been all over Europe. I lived in Africa for 4 years. And Africa, the whole world is dependent on you young people to straighten up this European settler colonial terrorism in the land of America, North, South America, Australia, Palestine. Why do they always stick together? Because Israel is a European settler colony in Palestine. North America and Canada are European settler colonies in North America. Australia, they murdered all the black people, called the Aborigines, which are the original people. There was a penal colony for Britain, and the prisoners got out of the prisons and killed all the black folks and took over. So what we're fighting against is European settlers are using North America to attack the whole world with drone terrorism, nuclear terrorism. But guess who's here to call them to task? The Occupy movement said it's the 1%. It's not the colored people, the white people. Don't fall for that whiteness. When I'm in Europe, there's no whiteness. It's French, German. The Italians don't like the British don't like. But when they got to North America to get some solidarity against the Native Americans and the black folks that they was terrorizing and working for nothing, they came up with this concept of whiteness. It's like the sister in Spokane said, I don't identify with white privilege and white supremacy. I identify with black culture. They went berserk. Why? Because the foundation of white supremacy is that people go around saying, I'm white. When I got back from Africa, I put in for an application to teach at Garfield. And I put down black. And they said, oh, we have too many black teachers. So I said, okay, let me have my application back. I took the application back, and I crossed out and I put white, and I got the job. You know why? Because when I'm in North America, I'm called black. When I get to Europe, I'm called black. Uh-oh, when I get to Africa, I turn white. When I get to South Africa, I'm mixed. So what am I? You're whatever you want to be. It's your consciousness. What dog hunts the best? The black lab, the white lab, or the brown lab? Uh-oh. It's the best trained lab. There's no such thing as race. Everybody's from the same human race. People have different cultures, different religions, different tribal affiliations. But get rid of it. You know, when I was running for city council, I said, okay, if we're going to arbitrarily define race on skin color, let's change that and arbitrarily define it on hair color. Because it's a lot easier to change your hair color than it is your skin color. And it's just as arbitrary. Now, as far as police, don't let the police be police over 5 years. You know why? It's a toxic environment. And the more you walk around with a stick and a gun, the more you rely on a stick and a gun. So if they want to be a police, let them be a police for 5 years. During that 5 years, they have to go to school and get a teaching certificate. And then teach for 5 years. Oh, that sounds like a reasonable, yeah, because in school, you can't tell a kid, because I said so, and pull out a stick and hit him in the head or shoot him. And young people ask some very intelligent questions, like where does the dark go when the light is turned on? Hey, the kid that's quite a question to ask. So keep up the good work. Don't let anybody fool you and make you think your consciousness is not what's important. Skin color, religion, sexuality, and there's one other that's very important. That you don't let confuse you. Because I've been all over the world. And everywhere you go, you got some good people, you got some bad people. At the top, you got most of the corrupt people. So stay strong. Don't never let nobody turn you around. Kwame Nkrumah, the president of Ghana, said, forward ever, backwards never.
Never.